Hi everyone, and thanks for joining this third episode of the Virtalis Reach webinar series. We'll see a lot of our guests joining us at the moment, so let's wait for 30 seconds or a bit more to get everyone on board, and let's get started. Yes, so people joining, so let's John, let's wait for just a little bit. Fantastic. So excellent. So let's kick this off, John. Thanks everyone to this third edition. And in this session, we will dive deep into the product and zoom in into new capabilities of the latest Reach release. So to all customers, partners, experts around the world from many different parts and countries, on behalf of John, myself, and the whole Virtalis team, thanks for joining. We're very happy to have you here. Every webinar so far has been special. I think this will be another special one because today we will be spending exclusively and basically all our time on Virtalis Reach. So you will see, experience the product, and also be able to engage with John on a product level. And I think we'll be the first one where we have definitely much more time on Reach than we spend on PowerPoints and supporting slides. So I'm joined by John Murray, who will share directly insights from the heart of our development team. And John doesn't need a lot of intro, a regular speaker and basically the leading man of this show. But for those who are new, John is our senior product manager, a key member and visionary of the Vitalis Reach team, and he's managing our product software portfolio, working closely with customers and driving the vision and the roadmap for all the future releases. So John, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here again.
Good to be here.
Fantastic. So I'm currently spending most of my time setting up the Vitalis Leadership Network, where we are going to have customers, partners, and experts connect, share their stories from the trenches. I'll share a bit more at a later moment. But many of you are also on this webinar, and that's basically the same purpose: to share information, to build a community, helping our customers and partners, and help them advance with their projects and their careers. So a bit about the webinar series, and a few words on Reach. We will hear more, of course, today, but we introduced Reach at the end of 2020, about a year ago, cloud-ready XR platform, and it quickly found its way to our customers. It is built on a dream, and we don't often talk about it that much, but it's about a dream to bringing powerful VR tools basically in the hands of anybody in the organization, to do it easy, effortlessly, and we will also see and show and get that demonstrated today. So at the same time, it's important to be safe and secure, and because of its cloud-based nature, we are able to facilitate very interesting collaborative scenarios, which we will also demonstrate today. And this webinar series, third in a row, is about, as you see, typically business trends, business issues, and how the Virtalis Reach software can address these issues as well. John is always an important member of the show, sharing his insights and give us a sneak previews in what's happening behind the scenes and at our customer base. And today, looking at the sign-up list, we have about a 60-40 split in attendees, so 60% VR and XR experts, and 40% is are more business leaders who like to learn more about what these capabilities, immersive collaboration, can do for their organizations. But today, last time we had a very interesting case study. We had our friends, customer from Toro presenting about their roadmap. But today we're going to dive deep into the newest release. And most of you know, so we'll be doing, there many things happened and has been released, but we decided to address the following topics and dive deep into that. I asked John Maxwell, one of our colleagues, to come on the show as well, because we have quite a few newbies, attendees who are not familiar with Virtalis and our products yet. So to do a, hi John, there you are.
Hi. To
do a brief introduction on the organization. And John, welcome here, and pleasure having you here. So we have 3 slides prepared for you, but before you kick off, I'd like to do a brief introduction. So John, you're a real pioneer in the VR world, and you also founded your own company, sold it successfully to Ansys. I think you were primarily active in the automotive domain, but also consumer product sector. So I think with your 30 years of experience in designing successful solutions for this industry, it's a pleasure having you on the show and do your take on Virtalis introduction. So welcome, John.
Okay, thanks, Dimitri. Yeah, well, welcome everyone. Yeah, my name is John Maxwell. As Dimitri just said, I'm the Business Development Director at Vitalis. I just wanted to say a few words, first of all, for those who are not familiar with us, who are joining us today. At Vitalis, we are actually one of the largest independent VR companies in the world. We've been, I guess, leveraging our AR/VR technology to accelerate and optimize engineering manufacturing processes for over 30 years now. And we've got a huge wealth of experience in delivering over 300 professional installations in 56 different countries. So we've got a huge amount of experience delivering this technology and making it successful in the industry. And it's still our primary focus today as we sit here. We work with a growing customer base of over 800 companies globally, and we deliver our AR, helping them deliver their VR and AR roadmap. So if you could just move to the next slide. Thank you. So our customers choose us because of our expertise and our ability to help guide them through their AR/VR journeys, and then building on our years of experience in doing this successfully. We work with our customers side by side to help them develop their roadmaps and also associate them to the real business value and ensure that they are successfully delivered and adopted. And we've got countless examples of this in terms of how we've successfully delivered this technology. These are just a few of the areas where our customers have asked us to help them over the years. Design review is right there at the top of the list. This is our largest use case, and in fact it's one of the topics for today's webinar as well on Reach, and also for next month's webinar, where we'll be focusing exclusively on design review as a use case. But we've also enabled our customers to successfully use VR and AR technology across a range of different areas within their process, their business process, including virtual training, manufacturing planning, contextual digital twins, and many others, as you can see on the list here. Next slide. Thank you. We have an unmatched software expertise, as you can imagine, from the wealth of experience we have with our customer base and the number of years we've been operating, as well as working at the forefront of technology for this amount of time. We have this unmatched software expertise, and through this we've successfully helped our customers to overcome some of the many common barriers that often they encounter when trying to deploy this technology for the first time. We are actually the only solution provider on the market that can actually blend and import many different data types. So we're not just talking about different CAD formats here, which many companies can do, but also pulling in the metadata from the PLM systems, the IoT data, the sensors data, point cloud data, and combining all of these different sources that you need to create that ultimate VR AR experience and technology. Our cloud-based solutions that we're talking about today, particularly Reach, eliminate the need to compress and download large files before end users can start collaborating. We simply provide end users with a safe, secure environment that they can access through a simple web link. Clicking on this then gives them instant access to huge amounts of data that they can then visualize at a click of a button anywhere on any device. And this is the true value of what we provide. So that kind of I just wanted to make a few statements about the company. So I'll just hand back over now to Dimitri. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of who we are and what we do.
Thanks, John. Thanks a lot. And we will also show some of the capabilities, also sharing and collaborating, just using a very basic web link. So thanks a lot, John.
Thanks.
So back to basically the heart of today's session. So release 2021.3. So John, there's quite a lot to cover. Where shall we start?
Hi, Dimitri. Well, let's stick with the running order you have up on screen at the moment. So the focus for today is to cover the release that went out at the end of August 2021.3. Just for everyone's info, we're tracking an 8-week release cycle now. So for those of you already on board with Reach, you can be expecting updates every 8 weeks. And in this release, we got a lot packed in. So the first thing is the HoloLens. You've heard me talk before now about how Virtalis Reach is an XR platform, so extended reality, not just virtual reality. And that most obviously means supporting augmented reality as well. And what we did in this release was validate that we can indeed do that, that the method of delivery we've chosen supports AR distribution as well. And we've done that in the Microsoft HoloLens. So right now, if you have a HoloLens available, you can also see that you'll be able to publish scenes to AR using the HoloLens already. Mm-hmm. So that's really the first point, and we will continue to build out that capability over future releases, I am sure.
So John, before we dive deeper, so I would like to request everyone, there's also a message in the chat channel. So we will be doing a brief Q&A as well after the session. So, but please drop in and share any question you have during the event. Maybe we'll be able to address them right away, and if not, park them at the end. And so please share any questions, ideas, and feedback with us. So John, back on the HoloLens too. I mean, how important is this for our current community customers?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, AR. I mean, the short answer is very, but not necessarily immediately for all. I don't see a future in which we're not all taking advantage of AR in some capacity in our working life. But it's also equally the case that VR is delivering a lot of value for our users right now. And so the challenge, of course, is to make sure we track both streams as we go forward. So paying very close attention to it, making sure that we are able to fully support it in Reach is a priority for us. HoloLens first, but of course, tablet, mobile phone distribution in the future.
And how about, I mean, so many new standalone devices, there's a whole range coming up. I mean, from your perspective, I mean, how do we plan to keep up? I mean, what is the strategy? How do we do it?
Well, I guess there's two approaches we could take there. One is to mandate what people can use and how they use it, and that would be great
Mm.
to be able to do it, not necessarily that popular. Or more realistically, what we need to do is make judgments on what the best open standards are that give our users the most freedom to deploy our software as they need. And that's the route, of course, we've chosen. So we support WebXR in Virtalis Reach, which is why we can distribute not only to different devices, mobiles, tablets, laptops, running browsers, but also HMD standalone devices like the Pico Neo or the Oculus Quest 2, or in fact, the Microsoft HoloLens 2. It's supporting that standard. That means we're able to distribute so freely without having to individually hand roll support of every device through.
Right, makes sense. Yes, absolutely. So there's, I mean, we also made some layout changes. John, can you walk us through?
Yeah, I'll do that. It'd be good if I could just share my screen. I don't think I've been given presenter rights just yet. Share the screen. Okay. And if I choose, good, right. Hopefully you're all seeing Virtalis Reach now. Great, so you're looking at a gas turbine. Okay, so the scene's familiar to customers, I'm sure, and to people who've attended these demos before. What might be new is the layout if you've not already downloaded 2021.3. So the changes we've made in this release to the layout is most obviously everything is now along this taskbar at the bottom, and we've introduced this concept of modes. So right now I'm in view mode, but we have a review mode here, which brings in the product tree, which is an enhancement you'll remember from the previous update. We've got the new comments mode, which I'll come to shortly, and then the version history, so you can track the publication history of your visualizations. So quick note on this. The reason we did it is really twofold. The first is that we know Virtalis Reach is going to expand both in how it's used and the tools we need to put in place to support those different use cases. So what we wanted to do was to make sure we segregate things as much as possible. One, to not confuse people, and two, to give us space to grow so we're not cluttering up the display with lots of different features. The other reason is kind of related actually, and that's because we could reasonably predict that there will be cases where you don't want to make everything available to everyone. And the most obvious example of that might be a training scenario. So Virtalis Reach lends itself really well to distributing training scenarios to people over the web. And what you don't necessarily want them doing is interacting with the product tree, leaving comments, hints and tips for those who follow along the way. So restricting the client to only providing the view mode, for example, could be a really important enhancement in the future. So that's what's behind the change in layout you see now. I hope you agree. It looks nice and clean. Everything's found in one place. And as I step through the different modes, it becomes obvious what the expectation is in that mode.
Yeah. Is it then to primarily save time, remove clutter, or is it also to protect users to see things you
Both.
would
Yeah,
rather
absolutely.
not?
Yeah. So we don't want to present people with functionality they don't need because it can be confusing. And it may be completely unhelpful for the organization for someone, for example, running through a health and safety training scenario, if they find they can leave comments or look at the product tree for the facility they're in. It doesn't add anything. So that's why we've made this first step of segregating everything out.
And can you take us through some of the challenges, I mean, more in general about designing an interface for VR? And also, if you look at Reach, where you have many different users from different devices, potentially collaborating on similar models. Can you give us some of the challenges we face in designing the best experience?
I mean, the challenge is quite easy to summarize in some ways, and it's a rod we've made for our own back. We've very much made Reach a product for enterprise across the board, no matter who the user is or what their use case is, on any device. So for someone designing a UI or thinking about the user flow, the user journey, I mean, that's quite a big target to be going after. So in trying to address that, we have to be very careful, of course. We've got the experience from our desktop products to date. We've learned a lot through doing that, how immersive GUIs work and how they should be designed. And we can apply a lot of that to Reach as well. But we need to tread very carefully, because what we don't want to happen is for people to find that when they switch between the desktop mode you're seeing in front of you right now and an immersive mode in the standalone device, for example, that they find it a jarring experience, that they find they're suddenly presented with a new UI that they have to relearn. And that won't work. So the challenge we've got is, one, to make sure we learn best practice, make sure we've even synthesized what we've learned as an organization from our track record in this area. And two, is never to assume that that means we've got the right answer. So we continually test and validate what we're designing with users, with prospects, even internally. If anyone stands still for long enough, they might find that a wireframe is put in front of them, and we're trying to get that feedback as to whether we're on the right track or not. So that's something that means it's not the job of any one person, although we do have specialists, but instead the entire design team has got that design thinking mindset ingrained in them.
Yes. Shall we move to some of the new collaborative features? Actually, one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, this was maybe the biggest single enhancement we've made to the interface at 2021.3, and that is the comments mode. So if I click over here, actually, before we do that, if I could, one other thing I do want to show off is in this design mode, or this review mode, I should say, if I could just copy this link. I'm going to make this available to you. So one piece of feedback we got from our customers is that when they're working collaboratively, they need to be able to be clear on what the other person or other people are looking at and how they're interacting with the scene, which seems obvious, and of course it is.
I'm clicking on the link, John, by the way. I'm accessing Reach with the link you just shared, so I don't know what you see over there, but yes. Well, and I'm using my Safari MacBook Pro over here, by the way. Nothing fancy.
Okay, so here we are. I'm in a scene now with Dimitri. You've seen me share that link with him by just making the URL available. Dimitri could come straight in because he's federated through Keycloak and Active Directory to access the scene. And I want to ask Dimitri about something, and I could click on it and say, I want to ask you about this. But for the purposes of illustrating the point there, okay, so Dimitri has selected this cowling towards the after end of this turbine, and you see that it appears to me is highlighted in yellow, which corresponds with his avatar helmet color. So I know precisely what it is that Dimitri is referring to. And equally, if I select it, you can see the colors cycle between the two. It's highlighted in the product tree. So if there were other people here, they would know that both Dimitri and I were referring specifically to this element. So in some ways, quite an obvious enhancement. In other ways, it's the kind of thing that you can talk about in development, prioritize something else, and it's not until the user comes in and says, actually, do you know, it'd really help if you did this. And that's what happened in the last release. Some of the early adopters were saying it would be great if you could facilitate our collaborative working by doing that. And so that's what's one of the things we got into this release.
It seems such a easy, basic thing, but so extremely powerful. I think you can never do without if you have that feature available. There's never a way you would be able to go back, I guess. Yeah.
No, exactly. It makes it a much more straightforward. It's a nice shorthand for I mean. You don't have to guide them in. You can just point now within a Virtalis Reach scene. So that was a really important enhancement we did. So that was something we put in place to support the kind of collaborative session that Dimitri and I just have, where we're working in real time. He's available. We can get in the scene together, ad hoc, talk about whatever it is we need to talk about. But the other thing, the thing that was what I was referring to earlier, is supporting a case where maybe Dimitri's not available, maybe he's in meetings, maybe he's in a different time zone. And what I want to do is make sure that we support people being able to communicate in Virtalis Reach without necessarily using a live visualization and audio, hence comments. So this third mode here is the comments mode. And you can see we've been playing with the scene a bit. We've got a few comments threads in here already. I'm particularly interested in this one, for example. So I click on the thread and I see that Michael is referring to the size of the holes in these brackets, but I'm not sure what he's talking about. I can't actually see the marker he's referring to, but I can hit view perspective and it's right there. So view perspective takes me right down to the viewpoint, the position that Mike had when he made that comment. So it's immediately obvious to me that that's what he was seeing when he reported the issue. And so I can start to take a look now and say, right, well, what is the problem? And depending on my perspective, I can agree or not, choose to take action or not. But ultimately, Mike will now be aware that this has happened, and he can look to see what I was looking at when he reviewed the scene. So comments is a way of supporting asynchronous collaboration, people using Reach to have discussions back and forth without necessarily being in the scene at the same time.
Right. Can you give us a use case, John? I mean, in the design review world, I mean, about how much time or ballpark numbers? I mean, what does it mean for our customers? Because they're able to work asynchronously, solve things, not necessarily being there at the same time in the scene. You know, you have dispersed workforces, hybrid workforces. So this must be, well, a kind of a game changer, because you can work together asynchronously and move forward on those designs and engineering work.
Yeah, what we've been aware of, having been in this game for some time, is there's often a tendency to have big bang design reviews that are scheduled at whatever cadence they're scheduled, where everyone comes into a room. And this is where Visionary Render can be such a powerful tool. So people can do immersive design reviews in a facility altogether, looking at a particular product, making comments, representing their various disciplines. But it can also equally mean that you have a lot of people in the room talking about or listening to others discuss something that's not relevant to them, or dealing with topics that might have been addressable before the meeting started. Of course, what Virtalis Reach gives you, particularly when we consider how it can tie into PLM systems, which I guess we're going to talk about later, is it means that you can start to cover these off before you even get to the meeting, which means the meeting itself can have a shortened, much more focused agenda, which is of course more efficient. It means you're cycling through things much faster, and you know you've got the right people in the room prepared to talk about the meeting, the issues that are worth considering in that session.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned hybrid working, hybrid workforces. I know boards, managements, companies around the world are trying to find an answer to how best to enable it, because it is such a crucial issue, challenge, etc. So thinking about it, I mean, is this an answer in general? I mean, coming together in Reach, in virtual reality, because it almost feels and looks like you're there shoulder to shoulder in a dialogue on a complex model.
Yeah,
without
I mean, there's never going to be
there in person.
Yeah, there's never going to be one size fits all. Sometimes a phone call is good enough, of course, but in terms of facilitating that kind of impromptu interaction, which is here, come and take a look at this, then as we've demonstrated in this call, the ability just to share a link and to say, let's talk about this, highlight what the issue is, come and look, we'll try and figure it out. Or if you're not available, leaving an observation and highlighting to the person, when you've got 5 minutes, can you check this potential issue out, because we want to move it forward. It's such a frictionless way of working, and it's better than, I would say, better than a screenshot or any other kind of file sharing mechanism, because it is easy to do. It is available to the other person on any device they can connect with. And it does mean that the conversation can be retained in one place.
Great. Let's move to navigation speed, probably more technical topic by nature. So tell us, what is it, and why should we care, John?
Well, it's another one of those things that came back to us from the field, actually. So if I just move back to clear these out, if I go back to this mode, you can see that my character speed, walk speed is actually quite reasonable for this scene, if not a little fast, but I'm happy. But if you can imagine that this gas turbine is now installed in a facility which is many hundreds of meters long, it could be pretty painful trying to track my way along there. Equally, within this gas turbine, we have turbine blades which have cooling circuits within them, which are micrometers in diameter and quite circuitous. So if you wanted to follow one of those and check one of those out, this would be far too quick. So simple answer, provide the ability to tailor the navigation speed. Set at 6.7 right now, can move it right down to a speed appropriate to the turbine blade, or right up to a speed appropriate to running across the turbine hall. And it's as easy as that to change. So you're not locked into any single number for your session. So that's just an example of, again, of what we've heard back from customers on Virtalis Reach, and we've sought to address in this latest release.
So, and it's just turning that lever and back and forth, and that's on a user level then, Or do you determine that
can be locked out
level?
if the scene author wants to prevent, again, if it's a training scenario and they want to prevent people from moving it, that is possible. But other than that, it's something people can set within a scene and change as they move around that scene as best fits their purposes.
Fantastic. Shall we move to our final topic, the Siemens Teamcenter integration? And as a starting point, we will also host a dedicated webinar on this very important topic next month in October. Well, we take everyone into the details, but for now, I mean, it's an important topic. So can you explain us how the integration works, John?
Yes, although as you said, there is going to be a follow-up on this where we'll cover more details, so I will keep it high level. Okay, so the background to this is Reach really has two main goals. One is we've shown already this morning, that's the ability to share visualizations with people frictionlessly onto whatever device they have, visualizations of any scale. But the other side of it is to make sure that there's not a huge overhead to organizations in making sure that the right, most up-to-date visualizations are served up. And one way we accomplish that is by integrating with product lifecycle management systems. So at release, we already supported PTC's Windchill. What we've done in 2021.3 is add support for Siemens Teamcenter to that list. And for those of you who are part of the Siemens ecosystem, use Teamcenter, what we aren't doing is making it so that your Teamcenter admin needs to configure something bespoke in Reach and use a new language. We built it so it understands PLM XML and it works with existing Teamcenter paradigms like workflows and revision rules. So essentially what happens is you configure the workflow you require in Siemens Teamcenter for your publications, and then that gets pushed to Reach, which will then publish to your different user groups, to your different projects, the visualizations like you see here. And depending on how you set that schedule, they'll be updated for those different projects accordingly.
Excellent, John. So everyone who's interested, stay tuned, and join us for the next webinar on this particular integration, because we have much more to share from both sides, and we'll do it. Can I ask you, Tom, to give the control back of the presentation? So we did receive a couple of questions. So let me see if I can share my screen again. Yes, there we go. 1 second. Fantastic, excellent. So thanks, John. So we are 35 past the hour, so I think reasonably in time. So we have 5 questions here in the box. If there's more popping up, please share them with us. I suggest we take let's take 2 of them. And try to round off in 5 to 10 minutes. We have some exciting news after this to share as well. So one of thing is, John, you mentioned video streaming is not something you thought was appropriate for Reach. I mean, you mentioned that also. It's one of your the things we keep on talking about. So
yeah, I
can you
suspect
expand a little bit on that as well? I mean, what is the thing?
Yes, happy to. I think we must have a regular to our webinars here, because indeed geometry streaming is a recurring theme of ours. Yes, so back to the design brief for Virtalis Reach. We made a decision as an organization that the next generation products from Vitalis, when we set the design brief for ourselves, it wouldn't work if we simply tried to video stream the content in a way analogous to how perhaps YouTube or TikTok streams videos, and there are lots of good reasons for that. The reason, I'll try to summarize some of the main ones. I guess the headline item is that it can be limiting in terms of performance and latency. So you're talking about a means of delivery which requires much higher bandwidth. So read into that more sensitivity to limitations when used in the field. And particularly if someone's working immersively, where the demands on frame rates are so high and sensitivity to lag and the sickness it can induce so high, video streaming is especially vulnerable to that. Now, the answer, of course, is that, well, graphics cards are improving in performance all the time. We can bandwidth and connectivity is improving all the time. Well, maybe so, but the other side of the coin then is scaling. We want Virtalis Reach to be a knowledge sharing tool for organizations at any scale. And so what that means is we didn't want to limit ourselves to saying to people, yes, you can do it for hundreds, if not thousands of users, but you need to equip yourselves with a server farm running some pretty high-end GPUs. So for those reasons, we've adopted the geometry streaming approach.
And I do know that there's also a webinar plan on that particular topic. So obviously this question came from one of our customers who are more familiar with some of the details over here. So there's another question, but this one from a visionary render user. What is this? Is Reach taking over from a visionary render? I mean,
no, there's no question of that. So actually, in the presentation earlier, I made reference to a use case where visionary render is still used for design review in an immersive facility. And if you're a Reach customer, what you'll also probably be doing already is using visionary render as a tool to curate, decorate, animate the visualizations that are finally published through Reach. Now, it might be that we build out other client types, other tools to fulfill some of those roles, but ultimately, Virtalis Reach and Visionary Render will be complementary products for quite some time to come, for the reasons I've just discussed. But there will be other use cases as well for which Visionary Render remains the appropriate choice.
Fantastic. So looking at the time, John, I suggest we work towards a closing. I have more questions lined up, so we have your details, and I will make sure all of them gets answered. And maybe we can also move some of them to the afternoon session. I mean, it's early evening over here. I'm based here in Holland. For those who would like to join us again, but the Q&A will have some extra sessions and questions as well. There is, for those who are interested, and thanks, John, Virtalis Reach is relatively low threshold. It can be implemented, supported at very attractive levels as well. I mean, it's also based because of its subscription-based model. And at this webinar, we're also promoting a special offer of £20,000 for 10 users, and it comes all inclusive. So it comes with learning management systems, with support, Azure, and all in the infrastructure that is required there. So on behalf of the organization, anyone interested, get in touch with us, and we love to share more of the details. We wanted to share this because we also have more smaller and also medium-sized companies who are working with Reach and appreciate actually the model, which is really really easy to access. So on another note, there's a lot of activities happening, and I would like to recommend all of you interested, join us and follow us on LinkedIn. You will find product and news updates, case studies, but also upcoming events, which we will bring to you. Upcoming ones in the coming months are on design review. We run an XR industry meetup with speakers from our partners and customer base. But we also talk about geometric streaming, Siemens Teamcenter integration, and also about our systems team, where we'll be sharing knowledge of some of the exciting projects that we were doing around the world. A new thing, some of you are familiar, is our leadership network, which we are forming, and we are going to host working groups on collaborative XR, on Virtalis Reach, and how to the do's and don'ts when it comes to adopting it, but also Siemens Teamcenter integration and various other ideas that we have. So anyone interested, join, link with me, follow us on LinkedIn, and keep an eye on your mailbox. So for now, thanks to John, but most important, thanks to all of you for joining from all the places around the world. It was a pleasure hosting this session, and both of us, we look forward to seeing you at one of our next events. So thanks a lot, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.